I spent much of my May thinking about Expedition 33, mostly because I've been working on a video talking about the characters, their story arcs, and how that ties into both of the endings. But I wanted to take some time with that video, and it's not quite done yet. Hopefully sometime next week, but it'll be done when it's done, as I really want to do it justice, and make something that I can look back on 10 years from now and say, yeah, I did a good job, and I'm proud of it. And while that has taken up quite a bit of my time, I've found a few spare moments here and there to play some other games. The first of which is Tales of Kenzera ZAU. Now, I tried the demo last year, and I was impressed with the gameplay and especially the platforming. Much like Expedition 33, the story for Tales of Kenzera ZAU also follows grief, but it feels pretty different. Because in Expedition 33, grief is vast, so large that it swallows the entire world. But in Tales of Kenzera ZAU, grief is personal. I'll have a review out on the game soon, but if you like your platformers on the Metroidy side, I can definitely recommend it. And I also don't have any major complaints about the game, but I do have one minor one. It feels like too much of a nitpick to put in a review, especially since it's very much a skill issue on my part. But while I love the platforming, a few times I did struggle with the controls, because there's a lot of switching from jumping to use trigger buttons to comboing trigger buttons with your jump button. And during some of the gauntlet sequences, especially under a time pressure, I just hit the wrong button over and over, resulting in deaths. To be clear, yes, this is very much a me being bad at a game issue, not a game is bad issue, but it was still frustrating and I wanted to mention it somewhere. And next up, there's Elden Ring Nightreign, which came out right at the end of May. Now, the developer did send me the game for full transparency, and I wrote several guides which you can find over on Maxwell if you're playing as well. My feelings of the title are a bit mixed. On the one hand, most of my playtime was spent doing 3-man pre-mates with friends, and I had a lot of fun playing this way. At first, the difficulty felt pretty punishing, solidly fitting into Type 2 fun, where it's really stressful while you're doing it, but fun afterwards. But after we got some practice in, it started absolutely destroying the Night Lords and stacking up win after win. And I really wish that Elden Ring Nightreign had built-in voice chat, because some of the best moments came out of hearing people's reactions when we got a boss down, barely hanging on. Maybe someone's dead and we don't have time to res them, but we still kill that goddamn boss. We took it down, we won. It's great. Or one of us would find a great weapon. Maybe it would just be offered to us, and we'd be like, hey, who needs this? Who needs Malekith's blade? Oh, you can use it? Cool, awesome. I'm going to grab that and give it to you. These sort of moments just aren't as hype if you're not in voice chat with other people to share them. And it's really hard to say, hey, the game is offering me this good weapon, do you need it? When all you can do is ping. Like, do I ping the pillar and hope someone pings back to indicate that they need the weapon that I've psychically communicated I have? No, so the game really should have built-in voice chat, or at the very least, play it with your friends. Now, I spent most of my time playing Duchess or Recluse. Duchess is a roguelike class who often functions as a support due to her ability to stealth the party for quick disengages, or restage damage right after your allies stagger the boss, build up ailments, get those juicy bleed frostbite procs, all that fun stuff. And originally, I didn't expect to like Recluse. She seemed kind of hard to play, and I never played a caster in Elden Ring. The last time I played a caster in a Souls game was the good old Pyromancer back in the Dark Souls 3 days. But once I tried her, the playstyle just clicked. So I spent a good chunk of my time sitting back and hurling moons at my enemies, throwing spears of lightning, and otherwise blasting things from afar. I found the ranged playstyle to be a lot less stressful, as it's easier than sticking to bosses when they love running all over the goddamn place. The thing is, you don't always have two friends online. And this is where the game gets more mixed for me. Because solo Nightreign is the antithesis of everything that I enjoyed in Elden Ring. I spent a bit under 200 hours in my first Elden Ring playthrough, exploring all the nooks and crannies, reading item descriptions, yes, I did actually do that, and watching way too many lore videos to help me understand all the item descriptions that I just read. But in Nightreign, the time is oppressive. You're always thinking about the encroaching rains and trying to maximize your rune gains. There's no moment to smell the flowers. You can't experiment with different weapons or wonder if a boss you just killed has a sad backstory. So if you're anything like me, I don't recommend Nightreign unless you have some friends to play with, because the game feels less Elden Ring and more Risk of Rain. And maybe that's why you're always fleeing the rains. And at the moment, I don't think the game has a ton of longevity to it. Once you beat the Night Lord, there's not much more to do except beat the Night Lord again. And honestly, after even just a few boss kills, I found the map was feeling a bit too familiar. Yes, there were random raid events and the shifting earth zones. They're very cool, and I enjoy them every time I get them. But after you get the guaranteed occurrences, they are way too rare, which leads to the matches feeling even more samey. And also, for some of the night bosses from the older games, they were way too easy. The Ancient Dragon from Elden Ring could absolutely rock you, but the Gaping Dragon was more or less a free win. I'd love to see more bosses. I'd love to see some of the older bosses get a little bit of love in terms of their movesets and difficulty, also maybe aggression. And I'd love to see more events added to the game. It seems like From Software might be treating this like a live service and supporting it long term. So I'm hopeful that Nightreign is going to get all of these things. And you know what? Even if none of that's added officially, modders have done some amazing things with Elden Ring, and to my understanding, there's a lot of similarities here, so there's a good chance modders are going to be able to do some really cool stuff. Regardless, I'm glad Nightreign exists. It's cool, it's weird, and it doesn't quite feel like anything else. And I wish more developers would release their cool, weird side projects, even when they have a few flaws. And then last up, Monster Train 2. A game that I was very excited to play because I loved the original Monster Train. In fact, I'd rate it as my second favorite roguelike deck builder after Slave Aspire. And you know what? Monster Train 2 may just dethrone the champion. Because so far, it isn't everything I was hoping for. It's more. The new factions are awesome. There's 5 new and 5 returning covenants, meaning you have a lot more freedom to double down on your preferred playstyle. For example, combining the Luna Coven, spellcasters, with the Stygian Guard, casting a bunch of spells to build Conduit, and unleashing absolute devastation via your attuned spells. Or you could pair Fel's Banished with the Hellhorned. And now you have some of the baddest fighters from either realm. And I also rather like the new Underlegion clan. They summon fun guys to act as their front line, and who doesn't like having a fun guy on their side in a war between demons and gods? Maybe you could even team up with a Melting Remnant to add some additional harvest effects. One of my favorite things about Monster Train 2 is that it's a well-balanced power fantasy. You're constantly finding combinations that feel overpowered, and easily defeating bosses with imposing names and very often imposing effects. But once you get into the really difficult content, such as pushing the Endless mode or higher Covenant runs, you'll quickly be humbled if you build poorly. I think I might explore this a little bit more in a dedicated video, though I haven't decided for sure. If that sounds interesting, let me know down below and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, I haven't had quite as much time as I'd like in May to play Monster Train 2, so I'm sure I'll have some more well-defined thoughts in the future. In fact, I think I'm probably going to put at least 100 hours into the title over time, especially if they added DLC. So expect a review either in June or at some undefined later date, and maybe even another champion tier list. For now, I'm going to dive in and try some more Covenant combinations. Looking ahead to June, the main thing I'm looking forward to is the Steam Next, because I always love trying new games, and I had a blast putting together the last demo video I did, so I'll probably do another one, and maybe this time I'll actually pick a theme instead of picking the more obscure titles. I don't know. I'll see based on the demos that catch my eye. But for now, that's what I've been up to in May. Let me know down below some of the games you've been playing. Thank you for watching to the end. I'm glad you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next month, which is probably going to involve talking about more Monster Train 2.